Marvelous seems to be on a roll lately with remaking a lot of their legacy Story of Seasons titles. We got a remakes of Friends of Mineral Town and A Wonderful Life, and now in 2025 we are welcoming a third remake into this club, Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, a remake of the fan favorite DS entry of a similar name. However, what seems to be different this time around is that unlike the previous two remakes, which more or less stayed faithful to the original releases, Grand Bazaar seems to be taking a different path. One in which you may not want to call this one a remake, but more of a reimagining, if you will. So, a disclaimer, I never played the original Grand Bazaar. Growing up, I was a huge Harvest Moon fan, but the only DS entry I played was the original DS release. In fact, I didn't even know Grand Bazaar was a thing until years after the fact. This is probably due to the fact that Natsume localized some of these games out of order, causing the original Grand Bazaar to release much later, causing some people, like myself, to never know about the original release late into the DS's life. So being able to finally play this game has been a real treat. The main appeal of Grand Bazaar is in the title, the Grand Bazaar. Unlike your typical Story of Seasons game where you place things into your shipping box you picked up at the end of the day, you'll be trying to hoard onto your produce and finished goods until the end of the week, where you'll be able to sell all of your goods off at the bazaar. The game is centered heavily around the bazaar and your ability to make finished goods to sell at said bazaar. While it took some time to adjust to selling everything in one big chunk at the end of the week, it did cause me to change my approach to farming, such as working with different levels of freshness. If you don't store items you want to make in the short term, they can eventually start to go bad and lose value until they're not worth anything at all. Thankfully, through upgrades, you do get a decent amount of storage for your goods, so I rarely ran into a wall of keeping things fresh that I wanted to sell. Scattered around Zephyr are 3 windmills, and each windmill will unlock different finished goods that you can make. See them as similar to the makers from Pioneers of Olive Town, but a lot better and fun to use and much more practical. Finished goods will typically sell for much more than raw materials, so if you get a harvest at the start of the week, it would be a good idea to plan out the rest of your week to turn those raw goods into finished products to sell. Got a bunch of veggies, have some rice, turn the rice into vinegar and make pickled vegetables for some serious profit. Got lots of milk and eggs? Hold on to them to make different fruity alternatives or scavenge for herbs around town to make some savory herbal cheese and butter. All of these have a much higher profit than just selling the raw materials as is. And honestly, while I was skeptical at first, I got really hooked into this gameplay loop. I am constantly planning my harvest around what goods that I will make to sell for the highest profit at the bazaar to reinvest into my farm. And every month there'll be different trends you'll have to follow as well to get the most bang for your buck. So you're probably now wondering, how is the farming on its own? Well, it's pretty good, but I think you expected as much. While your starting area is small, it is big enough to let you learn the ropes from how the game wants you to play it, pushing a bigger focus on turning raw goods into finished goods. And of course, you can upgrade your farm as time goes on. That said, there are some interesting choices this game has made, the biggest one being is how you charge your tools. Like previous entries, you can upgrade all of your tools, but in order to use their upgraded abilities, you have to jump. Then press the action button to perform the charged move. And when you learn the double jump, you can do an even more powerful version of said move. Although, I found the idea fun, but it just seems unnecessary. Like, not once did I think this couldn't have been done by just charging the tool normally like in older entries. It can be useful when harvesting multiple crops at once, as if you don't rely on jumping, you have to do it one at a time, which I again feel weird having it tied to jumping. I don't want to compare it to its sister series Rune Factory, but in Guardians of Ozma and in Rune Factory 5, I can just run through crops mashing the action button to harvest my fields in a timely manner. That said, it's not a deal breaker, I still had a lot of fun doing it. I just find it strange is all. In terms of ranching, Grand Bazaar has a wide variety of animals for you to raise in your farm, but everyone shares a single barn this time, which is cool. It makes the morning chore run a bit less tedious. The game also focuses pretty heavily on pets too. Your pets can act as herders for you, such as your pet cats for taking out the chickens, while the dogs rein in the cows, sheep, and alpacas. It was nice to not have to worry about making sure everyone got out every morning and made it back in safely at night. Although, when you do have to herd them yourself, the animals are smart enough to go back into the barn if you ring the bell outside of it. Speaking of ringing the bell, Have you subscribed to me yet and rung the bell to be notified when I upload? Yeah, sorry, it just felt appropriate. Anywho. Ranching will become a major boon not just to your market supply, but also in creating new cosmetics for your farmer to wear as well. I think the next thing that really sells Grand Bazaar is just how wonderful all of the characters around Zephyr feel. What I look for in these games is for the world to feel lived in, and I can tell you now, this one definitely feels that way. The selection of bachelors and bachelorettes in this game don't disappoint either, and if you play the original game, you'll probably feel right at home with how they are portrayed here. Well, except for Maple, who is very far off from her DS counterpart. However, I do know I am in for a good Story of Seasons game and I have a hard time picking who I want to marry. All of the bachelors and bachelorettes have fun and pretty well put together events you can find when exploring around town. Not only do you get your standard romance events and friendship events, but you also have events where you can see them interacting with other villagers, seeing which ones are friends with who. This once again goes a long way making the world feel alive, and does a great job of fleshing out all of the characters and their personalities. I was able to feel like I was contributing to Zephyr Town's growth, and I wanted nothing more than to make our overly enthusiastic, pun-loving mayor proud of me by bringing the Bazaar back to its former glory. Let's circle back to the Bazaar a bit now. Progression in this game is locked behind your progress in the Bazaar. The more you sell and the more shops you convince to open up, the better your ranking will be. You will be able to use this as your metric to get an understanding of how far you've made it in the game. I can say if you're locked in and playing optimally, you could probably finish this part of the game by the start of year 2. However, that is not to say the content ends there. At the time of writing this review, I'm about 30 hours into the game, and I'm only now getting a foothold in the fall of year 1. There is a lot to do in this game, and you'll be making the most out of every minute of the day to do it. That said, it can feel a bit easy to get overwhelmed by everything there is to do. So if you're looking for a nice, more casual play, then seriously, feel free to take it easy. This isn't Harvest Moon 64. You are in no rush to get things done. The game caters to both a very casual and laid-back playstyle, and for people who want to fully optimize their farm and blitz through. Because I'll tell you now, even if you do blitz through the entire Bazaar part, this game has a lot of content for you to go through, even after everything's been fully upgraded. Now let's talk about a few other things that are important. Sorry, this review is going whichever way the wind blows. So in that case, let's talk about that. A very important thing you want to keep an eye on is the wind. Depending on the direction and speed of the wind, your windmill will produce products at different speeds. So if you notice that it's pretty windy in one part of town, perhaps you should go prioritize using that area's windmill to work on those products to get more done in the day. Also, the wind is important to your movement in this game. New to this game is the gliding feature. It lets you fly around town like the true menace that you are. In fact, movement is such a huge part of this game that once you unlock the double jump and have a glider, you can pretty much get across town in different places with absolute ease. The downside is you are very dependent on the wind. So if the wind is blowing in a certain direction, your glider will fly in that direction at a breakneck pace. However, the moment you try to go against the wind, you will find yourself slowing to a crawl as the wind begins to push you back. I really love the glider, but I'm not sure how I feel about it being balanced around the wind, because some days can just be not windy at all, and you're just kind of gliding around looking like an idiot when running and double jumping would be faster. That all said, the movement is really nice and there's a lot to add to the ebb and flow of the game. I just wish it wasn't so reliant on the wind. One thing I know people have asked me a ton about from my preview is the customization in this game. The game does offer a decent amount of customization, but some may find it lacking compared to previous entries. You'll be able to decorate your stall at the Bazaar, and in doing so you'll be able to get different sales bonuses for your products. So not only can you make your shop truly your own, but you get a nice payout for it as well. In terms of your farmer, you get a nice wardrobe to pick from, as well as costumes you can unlock from the Bazaar or from different events around town. Just don't expect the same level of customization from, say, Pioneers of Olive Town. The final thing I want to talk about is the presentation of this game, and honestly this game looks and runs amazing. Normally I play these games on PC, but was offered a Switch 2 copy to review sooner, which I took up instead. And I gotta say, I don't think I've seen a Story of Seasons game look this good. The game looks really sharp, with such vibrant colors, and the way the environments look at different times of day really do bring the whole package home. I can just stare out into the distance and watch the light bounce off the grass as the wind blows through in almost a zen-like state. It really is remarkable. In handheld mode, as far as I can tell, the game seems to be at a locked 1080p 60fps experience, which of course seems to run even smoother when docked. In fact, it probably Also, this game has a ton of voice acting. While not fully voiced, it is the most the series has had to date, and it really does add a ton to the overall presentation, giving all the characters much more personality and just a fun time to be around. Honestly, after playing this game for as long as I think I have to agree with Marvelous's take on this. This game is not a remake, but a reimagining of the original Grand Bazaar. Sure, the bones of the original release are still there, but everything added to it makes it feel and play like a unique experience that I have fallen in love with. While it is true we haven't gotten a real mainline entry since Pioneers of Olive in 2021, I am willing to give this game a pass on it being a true mainline entry. Everything I've played of this game looks and feels distinct from the original DS release in almost every way imaginable. If you're a fan of this series, the original release, or want to finally try out these games for yourself, I honestly can't recommend this entry enough. This is probably the most fun I've had with this series since the release of Trio of Towns on the 3DS back in 2017. Once you start this game, I can guarantee you'll not want to put it down for a while. Seeing the progress Marvelous has made since Olive Town, I am very hopeful for the future of this franchise and look forward to the next entry that they are working on. Well, that does it for our review. If you have any comments or questions about the game, please feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And I can do my best to answer them, although there may be some I can't answer until after the release of the game. If you want to see me play more of this game, go and check out my Twitch. I'll have a link down in the description below. I plan to stream more of my time through this game in my downtime. And if you're new here, finding me out for the first time through this review, hey, be sure to subscribe for future reviews, commentaries, and more. And as always everyone, thanks for watching.